Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, yeah.
I really appreciate you being here. I wanted to talk about your experience in aerospace as an aerospace engineer for America's Space Program. As a scientist, what are you going to bring to DC? How are you going to implement your experience as a scientist in DC, representing your district, specifically on climate change?
Okay, so I'm a lifelong problem solver. That's what we do in engineering, and everything I've done has been working for science. So specifically when I get to DC, one of the most important things to have first is to actually have the data. And if you look at Trump's budget that came out, I was in Washington, D.C. last week when his budget came out, and we saw huge slashes across for all sorts of research funding for earth science. So that's something that I've spent a lot of time on working for at NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And so first of all, we have to have the data. We have to have the funding to do that so that we can actually frame the problem correctly and know what we're trying to solve. For me, it's unequivocal, climate change is real. And so we absolutely have to get problem solvers who know how to deal with it. Specifically what I've done at JPL, I've been there about 13 years, and I've worked on a whole variety of missions. Worked on the Curiosity rover, and I also now am working on the next rover we're sending to Mars, which will be going in 2020. So I'm the test program lead for that mission. And I've done a variety of things that I think translate really well into government. So being a problem solver, I know how to frame the problem when we have the data correctly. I know how to build a team and generate support and collaborate with members with all sorts of different beliefs. And absolutely I have an eye to implementation, which is something that this administration is sorely lacking, is the eye to how do we actually implement these policies when we're crafting them in the first place. So I think my engineering background allows me to really bring science and reason and give them a seat at the table at Washington that is sorely, sorely lacking right now.
Absolutely. Thank you. I wanted to talk about your mom's a public school teacher, so your public school product. As far as that goes, there's a lot of budget cuts and a lot of stuff happening in general right now in DC. Specifically regarding public education, what are you going to do to represent, with your experience with your mom and your life being that a public school product, how are you going to represent that in DC for your district here in LA?
Yeah, so being the engineer, I'm the oddball out in a family of teachers and artists. My mom was a public school teacher, and my husband actually teaches college here in Los Angeles at East Los Angeles College. He teaches English to speakers of other languages. I went through the public school system and then also went to public school for college as well. And so absolutely, we, number one, have to fight back against any attempt at privatization of our public schools. So school, to me, public school is a right. Quality public school education is a right. And there are several things that we need to do regarding public education. So one of the big things that I've been an advocate for, I've been working to advocate for public schools for 17 years now, and specifically have been working towards incorporating STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, education as part of the fundamental framework of what we're teaching our students. There are, schools that there are public schools and charter schools and private schools that have tracks in STEM education, but really to me this is something that's fundamental to how we teach our kids, because the jobs of the future and the jobs actually right now, we really need folks who have that sort of background as an inherent part of their educational system. So that's why I've advocated on that behalf. I've also advocated a lot for women and minorities within STEM to have opportunities there as well. And I think public education, it goes beyond K through 12. We need to have systems in place for the foundational years before you get to kindergarten that are affordable and equal opportunity for our low-income families, as well as absolutely I'm a proponent of free community college and affordable public universities. So I would fight to get those things in Congress as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Lastly, we are the Millennial Institute. We are here to, encourage millennials to get involved in the political process. We talked a little bit before the interview about how you're on the cusp, Millennial and Gen X. Awesome.
Yes.
A few last words that you'd like to say to our viewers regarding getting involved in the political process, being a millennial. Why is it important? Also, on that topic, there are a lot of people that are just, their hands are thrown up and they're just done. Like with the political system, especially millennials right now, with everything going on in DC.
They just started and they're already done. Yeah.
Right? I know. So some encouraging words for those that are just having a hard time right now as millennials.
Yeah, so I think I'm actually activating a base that has not been engaged before. I would actually be the first ever woman engineer in Congress, and so that's been something exciting that's gotten people around the country really excited and involved in a new way. So when I've been calling to get supporters, I'm calling a different community of people than has ever been engaged, and you see that people are actually responding really well in terms of wanting to be involved. You can see that many people are signing up and raising their hand and saying, I'm interested in running for public office in a way that I don't think I've ever seen in my lifetime. So that's exciting to me. And I think that we, as Democrats, have the opportunity right now to be bold in what we're doing and to unify around our shared values in the party. And part of that is giving an example and inspiration of people who are maybe outside of the political system being able to make it and be successful. And so I certainly think that I bring that to the table in a very big and practical way. And I want to be part of that inspiration that helps draw folks in so that in 2018 we do have a new wave of people who help us be represented better in Congress. So if you think about, I would be the first woman engineer in Congress, but just engineers in general, less than 2% of folks in Congress. If you think, I'm also a mom, so I have 2 little kids in the public school system. And, my kids are very important to me and how I think about what I want our future to be like. And right now there's only 13 moms in Congress, so it's 2.4% have children under the age of 18. It's really important to me that you actually have literal skin in the game when we're talking about all of these issues, right? And so I think it's about encouraging and empowering that next wave of folks who are willing to say, hey, somebody like me could do this, I can do it too.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Everyone that is engaging right now and show up to the polls.
Don't forget to vote on April 4th.
April 4th, and here's one of our candidates running. So thank you so much.
Tracy Van Houten.